There. Oh, jeez. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Curious Endeavourances Book Club, where we read anything and everything. If you haven't joined us before, basically we pick a book, read the book, talk about the book at the end of the month, as book clubs are wont to do. I'll post links later if you want to check them out, to go to our Goodreads page, see what else we've read, see comments, join, read along, comment yourself. And sometimes we also review the books in writing on a blog, which I will also post the link to. Introductions. Happy post-holidays, where everyone's exhausted. We have Ashley Newell.
Hi, I'm over here.
As I wonder if I say the right name, Julianne Wilson.
Hi.
And I'm Caitlin Perry. That's right. So this month we read The Winter Palace by Eva
Stachniak?
I was going with Stachniak.
Stachniak.
I believe you mispronouncing it.
I don't have paper copy. I will not hold it up. Ashley, will you fulfill your dutiful role?
Oh, but I can't say that dude's name.
What was it? Oh, God, I need to look
Which
it up.
dude?
Bestjev?
Bestjev? That's it. That's how I say it.
There's
Okay.
nothing now. Bestjev?
Well, it's Bestjev now, so that's what we're going to go with. Okay. Her name is Barbara. So if you haven't read this is already very confusing for you. Her name is Barbara. In Russian, Vavra. Nimble-witted and attentive, she's allowed into the employ of Empress Elizabeth amid the glitter and cruelty of the world's most eminent court. Under the tutelage of Count Bestjev, Chancellor and Spymaster, Vavra will be educated in skills from lockpicking to lovemaking, learning above all else to listen, and to wait for opportunity. That opportunity arrives in the form of a slender young princess from Zerbst named Sophie, a playful teenager destined to become the indomitable Catherine the Great. Sophie's destiny at court is to marry the Empress's nephew, but she has a loftier, more dangerous ambitions. What Sophie needs is an insider at court, a loyal pair of eyes and ears, someone who knows the traps, the conspiracies, and the treacheries that surround her. Vavra will become Sophie's confidant, and together the two young women will rise to the pinnacle of absolute power.
Dun, dun, dun.
I was going to do that and I resisted.
A sweeping novel. Oh, the Oprah magazine.
Endorsed by Oprah, or at least her magazine. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out why this isn't one. Ignore me while I try to do settings things.
So this is where we move into initial impressions.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you go first. Okay. I'm just trying to fix something, so.
I loved the beginning when it started, even though chapter 1 is like ridiculously long. I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to take forever to read because it's over 100 pages. I was actually really into it. For quite a long haul of it, I was very into it. And then a lot seemed to not happen. Yeah, pretty much everything I read at the back. All that stuff is the exciting stuff to read. And then we kind of move beyond that, spend some time not at the Winter Palace at all. And we don't see Catherine very much at all. And all of this dangerous ambitions and these loftier things she's supposed to do, we don't see any of that till the end. So I don't dislike it. It was just, I don't feel like I read the same book that's on the back of the book.
I agree a lot, actually. Yeah, I really liked the beginning, and then there were certain chunks that I really liked, but they were usually very short. and then it was draggy. Oh.
Right, and I can completely agree with that. I had the same issue where there was a lot of the intrigue and everything in the beginning. Then there was the middle chunk, and I found myself actually in the middle wondering if it was necessary. I mean, I guess they had to fill those years, but I had a point where I was sort of like, what if we just cut this?
Well, because it is a fairly long novel, so it could still have been a decent-sized novel with a lot of...
It does...
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
It does feel like our author was kind of trying to juggle a lot of things, and kind of that I need to summarize all this history, but because I didn't make my main character an actual historical figure, I still need to get into her life. So her life often has nothing to do with this history, but I also have to put all these details in so that people know that I did my research and really summarize, this is what happened for Elizabeth, this is what happened for Catherine. And it was fine when they were intertwined, but it spent a lot of time, especially that middle chunk, is a lot of Barbara not actually, oh my goodness, not actually being among the court. Like, as soon as she got married off, which happened fairly early on, it was all of a sudden we were in a completely different story, and that would have been fine. I could have been okay, just, you know, the day in the life of this wannabe courtier, right? This bookbinder's daughter. But because it kept coming back to the imperial matters and what's going on at the court, even though she wasn't in it, and especially when she was so bitter, even after, like, I get her husband's okay, I'm just going to talk about Igor because this really bothered me. Okay, so I get at the beginning, especially considering he's one of the like hundreds of random soldiers that are just plowing the Empress for some opportunity to move forward. So I get, like, he's rough and gruff soldier that probably wants into this marriage for all the wrong reasons, which is fine. But then when they have their daughter and he softens up and Barbara's just like, and it's like, oh, this is like the best father figure. Like, after everything, all the possibilities that this direction could have gone into, and he ended up being so doting towards his daughter, because there's that moment of, oh no, it's not his little soldier that he wanted. It's like, he's gonna make your life hell, and then he's like just softened, and he's like, my little princess, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's the most doting father ever. Barbara, what's wrong with you? Get over yourself.
Yeah. I should have realized then maybe that he wasn't the person I thought he was, or whatever. Like, yes,
you think?
It's not until he's, you know, okay, spoilers, FYI. It's not
supposed to have read it.
I know. It's not until he's dead that she actually, like, realizes. Yeah. Like, like, I could have been happier. Yes, you could have. Yeah, he gambled and made promises he couldn't keep, but...
It would have been different if there was, like... I get very strong female bond between her and Catherine. If it had merged to the even more to the edge of lovers, I would have understood it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, well, it's funny because I had that issue with I think I did mention it. I'm trying to remember now what I mentioned in my review. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that it bothered me that Barbara followed Catherine so blindly that it was all she could see. Like, as long as she felt like she was being of service and helping Catherine, then she was like, it's all good, everything's good, it doesn't matter if
Which also seemed very out of character for her, because she starts very jaded and very questioning, right? Like, when it opens with her being taught how to be a spy master, right? Like, she has all these skills, and she knows to question everything, she knows to read between the lines, and then she just stops doing it for this friend. So because something there isn't right. Either, like, there has to be another step forward, so that it's not just me and my friend. Like, I don't believe that a woman that strong is going to be so blinded by compassion if it's not fueled by something else.
Like, when she, you know, when Bestchevich,
that dude.
The Chancellor.
When Chancellor Bestie says like, you honestly think you were the only tongue she had? Just like, yeah, you think? Come on, she's
And
trying
then
to
she like
become empress.
spiraled into like this like emotional like turmoil. And it's like, really? Really? After everything,
Yeah.
this is the thing that shatters you? It's
That's
just,
one thing that, like, I
she
found
started
actually.
so strong.
Yeah, I found that. I think Caitlin, you and I discussed that briefly whenever it was that we last chatted. That the ending for me was definitely an issue because it just, it seems so out of character. She spent so many years at the court and like wanting to be a part of it, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh wait, I'm not like her only friend and confidant. Oh no, can't have that. Must.
Like the ending still would have worked because she was doing it for her daughter, and even from the beginning, as soon as Empress Elizabeth was like, "Oh, what a pretty little girl you have," there was that moment of, "No, I don't want my daughter to be in this world because it's going to destroy her." And when it ended like that, with the "No, we're not going back to the Russian court. We're going to go start off on our own," that made perfect sense for her daughter. But I still don't buy it into her. Like her emotional wound. For everything, I don't believe she could have hurt that much. And I don't know, just because Catherine was also portrayed as so weak. And I get that's part of the betrayal, is because that even Varvara didn't pick up that she was, that conniving.
Yeah.
But it does kind of just, not that it's surprising that there were other people spying, because every page they're talking about how many tongues there are, and everyone's like, there's so many eyes. But just the fact that that's supposed to be like that big crushing moment of, oh my God, you betrayed me. It's like, even if it wasn't like intentional ambition, just seeing how she moved from lover to lover and things like that, it's like, clearly she's
the best. I love him the best.
Yeah. I felt so bad for that dude who went to Poland, Stanislav.
Yeah, the one decent guy that she actually like was with.
Yeah. And their kid together died and all that.
Poor Stanislav.
Although I also did feel bad for Grigori, was it Orlov brothers? Yeah.
Yeah.
When he has his little drunken tantrum.
Why did he come to
Because she endorsed Stanislav for the Polish crown, and he's like, "What? She's going back to him? No!" And you never hear about that kid that they had ever. It's just gone. Like, couldn't like the family like take him in, even if it was just like under the guise of like a ward or something? No. Okay.
Oh, it's funny because when she becomes empress, she has, of course, the first son.
Mm-hmm.
Come back. I'm like, what about the other kid?
Yeah.
Because you had one with every single lover. And only one of them died, so, I mean, where's the other one?
Okay, Peter.
Oh.
How many times did you want to slap that kid in the face? And he like never aged, and they're talking about like how he's like physically old, but he like his personality hasn't changed from a 7-year-old throughout all these years. So what are you doing?
I didn't dislike him as much at the beginning when Barbara was reading to him.
Mm-hmm. But as soon as he started doing the Catherine, you're gonna march for me thing, it all went downhill.
Yeah, so up until then, like when he gets scared at the museum of mutated.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that, and he's nice to her and all that, and then suddenly...
And then he just went sour.
Yeah. I finally started the memoirs of Catherine the Great, and it's hard to tell where the writer and Catherine overlap, because there's not always a distinction, I don't think, but immediately, Catherine's impression of him is that exact impression. He's a child man. Blah, blah. Like they were only young teenagers then, but
yeah,
like yeah, same thing.
When did her memoirs start?
when she goes there.
I need that book.
1728. Peter III's childhood and education in Holstein.
Wow. Okay, so
It starts with, it starts with it's just a little blurb, but and then like basically when she goes there.
Okay.
And of course Catherine's like, well, I want to be empress. I have to play along. The whole time she's always playing along.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think it's interesting that the book is told since it's obviously told through Barbara, not through Catherine. I think it's interesting that the view we get of Catherine is not necessarily like accurate, and half the point is that we see what Barbara sees, and she sees her as a lot weaker than she actually is, and a lot more vulnerable.
Which is, I think, part of the reason it bothered me so much, because it wasn't a bad read. I think it's just it's set up, because it says right here, The Winter Palace, a novel of Catherine the Great. And it didn't seem like a novel of Catherine the Great. She was in it, but it wasn't about her.
Yeah,
and if it was supposed to be, like, if it was supposed to be that big betrayal at the end, then we needed to have a lot more Catherine, rather than, and I made this comment on the Goodreads forum, it felt like the whole book was just lying in wait for Empress Elizabeth to croak.
Yeah, so it was like how Catherine, like, can't, I don't know, like
it didn't seem like it was her building up to be an empress. It just felt like everyone lying in wait for Elizabeth to disappear.
Yeah.
There was definitely an element of that, yeah.
And so frustrating with Elizabeth, because this is when I felt bad for Barbara and Catherine and pretty much everyone in that poor palace or poor country. Is with Elizabeth, you're always, what mood is she in? What's right or wrong? Yeah. But I'm not going to do what I do every day that suddenly she doesn't like, and I'm going to get exiled to Siberia.
Yeah. She was quite the character, that one.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, how are you not dead yet? Like, what year is this?
But it still felt more about her
than
it did about Catherine. Catherine was there, and I could see where, that changes Barbara's allegiance, and that would work, but it still didn't seem to be about Catherine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Because even this big secrets and stuff, it was about hiding it from Elizabeth.
Yeah. Like, what can I tell, or how should I tell her it so that, she doesn't care, but, So, yeah. And I wanted to hit Elizabeth more than Peter.
I still hated Peter more.
Yep, definitely.
Because Elizabeth, you could almost kind of excuse, especially as she's getting more into her old age, and she knows she's getting frailer, and she knows how many people are conspiring against her.
Take care of your country.
But Peter just never grew up, ever.
I know. So they exiled him to his little castle to play with his toys. That's what I would have done. They keep giving him play sets.
I do love that no one put together that they weren't sleeping together. Like, okay, so he had a crooked penis. Did he never have anyone inspect him at all prior to getting married? Like, how would you not know this? And like, I get they did the fake blood thing so that stayed people off, but that also goes into his immaturity, because like I know he was like 15 when they married. Like, he was pretty young. Mm-hmm. But still, they were together for a number of years.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, even at his stage, like, I get maybe 15, maybe not to the maturity that he wants to start having sex, but 17, 18, really, that kid should be getting some urges at some point. And then none of it happens. They finally go in, do some snipping and fixing, and then he becomes like a total horn dog.
And I love too that it's like, oh yeah, you were drunk and a little vigorous in our peeing contest. How do you not know your own body well enough to notice that someone's done surgery on your?
It's like he's never looked at the thing, ever.
But that's what I'm saying. Like how? How does he believe this?
Like, I get that they have people that are employed to wipe his bum, but again, just on a maturity scale, at some point, boys touch it. They acknowledge its existence.
This is a weird conversation. It's not a smut book.
It could have been. It almost would have worked out better if it had, because it starts really strong, right? She gets into the spy master's care, and it's all like, so now you will please me. And it's like, okay, this is wrong. But, I mean, it says right on the back here, okay? So this, again, setting
expectations. That was actually misleading, too, that little bit on the back.
In skills from lockpicking to lovemaking. So yeah, I was expecting like either her to be training Catherine on how to be a better lover or something like that. Like it could have gone so many other places, or maybe the spy master person taking Varvara under his wing so that she could be of more use, slipping into other people's beds and getting more influence. And it's all that possibility, and it just cut right off because they just married her off. And it's like, no, actually, a little more smut probably would have driven this book a little further.
And that's true. I would have.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, okay, so you've got Catherine, this little child bride, who's, not able to, and they keep saying that they're trying to teach her things to please her, to please Peter, and none of that works. But again, it's all kind of just summarized, and we don't get a lot of those details. And one of you two, I think it was Julianne, was mentioning how emphasis in some details, but not necessarily where we want them.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of things that could have been very plot driving that we just kind of dropped the ball with, and we focused on other things.
I got to the point where I didn't care what the gowns were made of. Like, normally I don't mind those details, like if it's a great big ball or something, but because they have these functions all the time.
And we spent the money on this to rebuild the Winter Palace to look like this and all this.
Like, yeah, the writing wasn't, like, I never had a problem with the writing specifically. It was just, there were certain passages where, like, skip to the end.
This is where I feel like the author was just trying to juggle too much, especially with all the name dropping. There's a lot of really specific name dropping, and a lot of them very similar names. So trying to weed through and figure out which ones are actually coming back and which ones are just, no, this was an important person who passed through history, so we had to mention them here, and this person here, and this is what was going on here.
They had interacted with Catherine at this one particular whatever.
And I get historical fiction, it does have a certain expectation of you being familiar with the time period, so that you can follow along, but I don't think the name dropping serves any purpose whatsoever for the author. I mean, the only one that really stuck out to me was that one little brief mention of Potemkin, who just kind of made like a little cameo and walked away, and I'm giggling because all I can think of is shot Potemkin in the Potkin.
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I'm like, oh.
But that was it. Like that was the only name drop name that actually like sent a flag up or anything. Everything else was just like, okay, who is what? I don't. When is something gonna happen?
That going back to Elizabeth, like there were little things that I was wondering, like 1700s. What's the life expectancy? What is the cost? Like for me, it's all those little details that I don't.
And she wasn't super well, like not at the very end, but somewhere like in the middle, and they're talking about her aging, and it turns out she's like 62.
Yeah. And it's like, God. And then they're bleeding everybody.
Yeah.
Like, just work on your blood pressure.
That's funny. That's one thing that I got reminded by the name dropping stuff. The names, like the actual names themselves, the variances in the names. That was one thing that I struggled with. Because at one minute she was Barbara, and then she was Barbara, and then she was Varenka, and it just was like, wait, what? Which one? What?
Even just trying to, like, I don't know if maybe this was just me, when they would just say the Empress or the Grand Duchess in the beginning, like, I was getting confused as to who they were talking about. Even though those are very different terms, I just wasn't into it enough at that point to really distinguish, because they're usually saying Elizabeth or Sophie or Catherine, and then it was this huge chunk where it was just like, and then the Empress did this and the Empress did this, and now the Grand Duchess is doing this, and I'm like, okay, what?
I wouldn't necessarily pick up on it right away, and there'd be whole passages where I think they're talking about one person, and then they mention something like, oh, right.
Wait, that's that one.
It makes more sense now. So.
Yeah.
I don't think I was really piecing things together till we got to the end. It's like, well, half these people are dead now, or exiled, or somewhere else. So.
Siberia.
I was surprised though when she went back to the wardrobe. She never made any comment about like coming full circle.
True.
Because she started in the wardrobe and hated it, and then. Once Catherine came into power and she was sent back to the wardrobe, it was like, oh yay, I'm finding a position where I'm actually useful. And it's like, I would have more of like a reflection moment there on, oh great, look, we've come this far for this many years and we're right back where we started.
Excellent. That's what everyone wants in life, to end up back in the wardrobe. Just a minute. Nothing.
And we're waiting. Yeah. I just realized I recognize that shirt.
Yes, but I can't show it because it's slightly see-through.
I have to wear a cami under mine. But I still love
would if it weren't laundry day and I was at home all day doing nothing. So, oh my god, my lighting.
So other part of the betrayal was the use of the daughter. Now, maybe I just expect the worst, or like I don't know, maybe I just wanted some more action out of this, or something that was going to make it a super betrayal, because just questioning the daughter wasn't enough for me. But when the daughter was being like all secretive and hiding, and
I thought it was much worse.
I thought like the dance master was like raping her or something. Yeah. Like, what is happening? Or like the Empress is like setting her up to like be like her son's lover, or like something horrible was happening. But no, she was just asking her questions. Who does your mother bring home at night? And I'm like, really? That's why she doesn't want to dance?
Yeah, I totally thought it was something much, much darker.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad bad things aren't happening to children, but I still feel like that wasn't the worst, because that was the breaking moment of, how dare you use my daughter against me? Don't you trust me? It's like, okay, well, I do see where this is coming from. It's her new favorite lover, and he stumbled into your room drunk, and you said nothing about it. So I get that that's an issue, but it's not like the end-all be-all betrayal. I think if it was she's going to be such a pretty little courtier, let's send her out as someone's lover, or marry her off to like another soldier or something like that, then that would be whoa, okay, you crossed the line there. But no, it was just, thank you for chatting with me, your Auntie Catherine. So again, just kind of that letdown, that things could have been driven a bit more, and they weren't. So I don't think any of that would have been unrealistic, because the girl she was like 13 at the time. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't have been that uncalled for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I expected it too, because it would have totally made sense. So,
especially considering like how red flagged it was. It's like, oh, she's being very quiet, and she's like keeping to
want to
herself, and
dance.
she doesn't want to. Yeah, she doesn't want to do any of this. She doesn't want to go back. She doesn't want to talk to these people. Like something traumatic has just happened.
Yeah.
That is not traumatic enough. I mean,
Well, especially for a kid who's grown up in that lifestyle.
she knows her parents didn't have a happy relationship. She knows how many lovers her Auntie Elizabeth had. She knows how many lovers her Auntie Catherine's had. It's like this is a thing.
Yeah.
And it would have also been a nice full circle against seeing how Varvara started off, being under the tutelage, but also
Under.
yeah, more literally under. And then seeing something similar happen to the daughter, more of that motivation to break away and keep her out of court life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been much more satisfying to come full circle all the way around. Be like, no, it's quite fine just being a bookbinder. Because she does. She goes and finds the books and then keeps track of them. And it's like, I was ready for her to go right back and, like, accept that she's a bookbinder's daughter and not be ashamed of it and raise her daughter as a bookbinder's daughter or something like that. But no, we didn't get to it.
I love the bookbinder stuff. Like where she's going into all those little details.
That was a very strong beginning, and it was great.
And
then
her father, that's the only time he ever messed up on the book, went into the shadows because of course he knew more about what she was getting into, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or had an inkling.
Yeah.
Not the life I want for my daughter, but my wife wanted it, and someone has to take care of her.
And she ended up in a crummy shack with a soldier husband. And I thought I'd hate Igor because you get those initial impressions of like, oh, okay, nasty little guy, because he was like grabbing at her beforehand and all that stuff, and now he thinks he's so great because he's the one that like won the bidding war to have her, and then he ended up being super sweet. They're like, okay, I don't hate you.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt so bad for him.
Yeah. That's one thing that really, that was, I think, my biggest issue with the whole book was that I had trouble with the main character. And the main character not being Catherine, of course, as mentioned previously, but being Barbara. And I just, I don't know. I'm not sure there was inconsistencies or whether I just
if she had stayed strong the whole way through, it would have been great.
That's true, yeah.
So I think there would have been a much better way to blindside her, and I think having her daughter taken advantage of would have been a huge blindside. It's like, I trusted you.
And you...
And
yeah.
Yeah.
But alas, not so much.
Mommy, why do they call me the Tsar Maker now? Oh no, out you go.
Oh boy. Nope, definitely not.
I feel bad. I didn't tag a thing in this. Like, there were parts I enjoyed, but there was nothing that really stuck out as, oh, I want to make note of this. So I have a very naked book.
I was also reading on Kindle, but even then I usually have something, and I have nothing.
Yeah, let's see. I think I liked a couple things, but they weren't, it was just, random little notes that were little quips and stuff that I liked.
Well, it's funny, because, I didn't dislike it, but I also just didn't love it.
Yeah, the ones that I have, literally the 3 that I have that are, notable are ones that are just, literally, one sentence, one-offs that I really liked. Something like, don't stare into mirrors. It's easy to get lost in there. I liked that. Where's the other one? Oh, there is one, though. I debated trying to find a way to make an award for it, but I just didn't know how to do it. But it reminded me very much of our entertainment at the dragon snaking term. Because it says, Ivan Ivanovich's first invitation from the Empress had been to a pilgrimage. In the salons of St. Petersburg, praying together had become a synonym for the sexual act. And I thought, praying together, yeah, that's entertaining.
Praying together is the new dragon snaking.
Yeah. I was amused. So I flagged that. But yeah, no, I definitely don't have a particularly large number of flags either. Although part of that might be to blame for the fact that I read it in Hong Kong where I had a short supply of flags, but still. I feel like that's not really an actual excuse.
Yeah.
Well, you still came up with more awards than I could come up with. I'm like, I don't know. Because the only comment I had wasn't an award. It was just, this is about Elizabeth.
I didn't think much on it, honestly, but partly because I finished right before my parents came, so.
I finished 20 minutes before midnight last night.
But you did finish. That's what counts.
I did finish, and then I almost slept in to miss all of the discussion, so I probably could have got the cone of shame for that, even if I had finished. But I made it.
Yeah, that was me staying up later than I should have last night to do the review, which I believe is posted.
It's posted.
Should have posted.
I haven't written one even for Goodreads yet. I finished, and I'm just like, that's not a good enough review.
And yet it's a fair opinion because that's the thing. Like, it didn't.
I think the subtext and the back, I think that's what screwed me up. If I hadn't have read any of that and was just taking it for what it is, not about Catherine the Great, not about all this intrigue and ambition and all that, if I had just taken it at face value, I probably wouldn't feel as disappointed.
Yeah.
But I went in with this expectation, and it didn't match it very well.
Same thing.
There's definitely a concept that isn't executed fully.
Yeah.
Like, I thought when she was learning, like, most of the book was going to be about her getting that spy training.
I totally thought that, like, she would get her training and then she'd be, like, sneaking, like, doing a lot more of the sneaking around and, like, listening in and...
It was a lot of talking. It was a lot of talking.
There were a few moments where I would always think, this needs more dialogue right now. Just because there would be big chunks where it was just her describing something.
It's summarizing all the historical events. This happened, and this happened, and this happened. Even the stuff she wasn't there for. Oh, I heard that this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Like, the epilogue. Most of that epilogue was, well, I'm not there. But since I haven't been there, these are all the things that did happen over there. Like,
yeah.
I think that was probably because there is a second novel. And the second novel is
actually about Catherine?
Yes. I was going to say, the second novel is actually from Catherine's point of view.
Oh, see, that I would read.
Yeah. So I'm curious how the two, like, obviously they're going to be very different books because the second one is actually from Catherine's point of view. And there's so much that it's funny because in some ways I love the fact that the perspective wasn't Catherine's because it gives you, another look at things in a different angle. But at the same time, I feel like because of that we missed so much.
Well, and I don't mind Barbara's story. Like, seeing her humble beginnings, going through climbing through the castle and all that stuff. I mean, again, I just wish that her character had been more consistent, right? She starts strong, and it's so frustrating to see a strong character just, like, dissolve. And I felt like she did. Like, she got way too desperate in a time where it didn't make sense for her to get that desperate. Again, if she had more motivation, I think it would have been great if they had been lovers at some point, because that would have justified it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And then she really would have felt that she was the only one that was that close. Like, just being, her tongue is one thing, but if it was like a metaphorical tongue or alternative usage of tongue, then I think there... Sorry?
Write your fan fiction.
The fan fiction, okay. Winter Palace, the fan fiction. Filled with smut. Lesbian smut. This is how I envision this book.
Flash fiction on Catherine the Great.
And I'm not typically that dirty of a person that's like, yes, we must have more sex. But this one just felt like it would have actually benefited from it.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like these kinds of books need more sex because I feel like there's always a lot of that going on in these palace.
Well, they keep mentioning who's having sex, but I just don't feel like the right people were having enough sex in the right detail.
There's a lot of stuff happening, so in these kinds of books, I always expect there to be more sex.
Yeah.
Because sex is a huge part of politics and power.
Especially, it says she will be educated in the skills of lovemaking. It says that on the back. I did not see her educated in the skills of lovemaking.
Well,
Agreed.
and when she wanted a baby, she enticed Igor.
Yeah, but even that wasn't exciting. She just said that's what she did.
Yeah. I wanted a baby, so I made myself presentable.
Yeah, because she'd been like spitting at him the whole time, right? Just like, I hate you. I hate you. And he's like, you're a fiery one. And you're like, okay, so you're creepy, and she's bitter, and no one's happy.
No, I expected it's interesting because the back had that comment about how she would be like educated in the art of lovemaking. I totally thought that would actually play a major it would be a major factor.
And even when she opens her because it starts with her already being in the court and knowing how to be like a spy, right? She's talking about how easy it is to get through, how she has the skill that she can open letters without anyone even knowing that the seal had been touched and all, right? So she's listing all these very intricate skills that she has, and we never see it. She mentions that she did it, but we don't see it.
But I thought it was interesting too because when she had her daughter, after that, she could not have any more kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was where it was going to pick up because then she had like the risk was, like it's not like she could have gotten.
Yeah. And especially when Peter was picking up more lovers, it's like that would have been perfect. Like who would be a better spy to put in than to make him? Because I mean, Catherine didn't give a crap about who he slept with; she hated him. Mm-hmm. So could you imagine the pawn to put Varvara with Peter and have the total inside man?
Too, like once her husband's dead, she can't have babies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she never touched her husband afterwards anyway, so it's like...
No, but I'm just saying, like...
Yeah.
She had every reason to use her womb as a toolkit.
Well, I feel like it's interesting, too, that Catherine, who in so many ways was very shrewd about other things, wouldn't have nudged her in that direction.
Yeah.
Well, when she started getting suspicious, she just married her off. But I do think that as being a good spy master, because she started trusting Barbara more than her actual spy master, that would have been the perfect thing. I want to know how these soldiers feel about me. Go. I want to know how this ambassador feels about me. Go bed him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to know if my lover really loves me. Go test him.
True.
Well, especially when she thought that something happened when he snuck into the house with the melted ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
He brought me ice cream. Did you eat the ice cream? Well, no, I didn't see the ice cream.
Anything else about Winter Palace?
Not really.
Covered it, which probably isn't a good thing, hey?
So I will say I felt really bad when she had her first baby and everyone just kept leaving her there shivering in the street.
Oh God, that was awful.
It was awful.
Well, Catherine, right? She pushed out her first and everyone abandoned her.
Or what?
Almond or regular?
Almond.
I think that's what Caitlin was mentioning, was when she had the first one and she just, basically just left
the
there.
Dilapidated, moldy, temporary palace.
Ew, I'm never having kids.
I don't think it'll be quite like that.
I want proof. on evidence. I want you to tell me exactly how long I'm going to be in labor and how long I have to be in the growth sheets.
I admired how attentive Stanislav and Grigori were for the birth of their children when Peter was like, well, I can't do anything with them till they can march anyway. I'm like, you are a douchebag, sir.
Yep.
Yep. This is my dinner.
That is a delicious looking dinner.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I did. That was pretty painful.
Yeah.
And that was like early enough on, that she'd been under all the pressure and you didn't feel like she was becoming a manipulative person.
Well, actually, that reminds me. There is a quote right at the beginning from a letter between Catherine, when she was Grand Duchess, and Sir Hanbury Williams, the British ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really interesting, the placement of that, because right at the very beginning, you get a little snippet here that says, 3 people who never leave her room and who do not know about one another inform me of what is going on and will not fail to acquaint me when the crucial moment arrives.
What page is this?
That's the thing. It's right at the beginning. It's like before even the thing that says the Winter Palace. And I breezed right past it, went like into the plot, totally forgot about it, and then was flipping through when I was looking at like I literally was just like flipping through looking at stuff, and I was like, wait, what?
I totally missed. I mean, I might have read it at the beginning.
That would mean differently. I mean, I wasn't naive enough to expect that she was the only person, but because of the point of view, you do get the impression that their relationship is much more intimate, maybe.
But I was just intrigued that was highlighted right at the beginning.
What was that?
I was intrigued that it was highlighted right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally like a, hey, heads up.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Interesting. You think after all these years I'd learn? Well, I think it might be different because I have Kindle, so it might not have. Because sometimes it just takes you right to the first page. But you'd think you learn to read all of the little notes and stuff.
You'd think, and yet I'm guilty, definitely, of being the person that often does not.
I just want to get to the book.
Well, especially because in some cases, until you read the book, they don't even, like, they're not, no context. They're just there. So I'm definitely guilty of often being the person that will maybe glance at them and then read the text and then come back to them. Only in this case, I totally forgot it was there until I was slipping, and I was like, oh, hey, that.
Would have been nice to remember.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because clearly, like, I find it interesting that was downplayed for, I guess maybe it wasn't downplayed per se, but I don't know.
I'd say it was until, like, the last 50 pages of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if it was a major, like, since it became a major issue at the end, and it was clearly important enough to have that excerpt right at the beginning, I feel like it should have been, that aspect should have been highlighted throughout, and it wasn't.
Maybe this is a classic show don't tell thing, because even though she keeps saying she has a close bond with Catherine, we still don't see it.
Yeah, that's true. Either that or she just, I don't know, wished that she...
because it's hard with a particular perspective as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, even if you don't see it, some people have in their mind that this relationship is super, super close. Like, and other people are like, what? Like, the Chancellor, like, why would you think that? You honestly think you're the only one she has working
Well,
for her?
especially when she's sent away all of the time. Right?
Yeah.
And she gets
Yeah.
those doubts, and it's like, and you still feel betrayed? Like, you see her, like, once every few weeks now.
Like, don't you assume that maybe she has someone else working for her while you're gone?
Like, don't you even think she's telling her lovers more things than she's telling you right now?
Exactly. So I think that's probably more of a perspective issue, which can't be helped given what the perspective is.
Well, no, I could still buy in from Varver's point of view that she completely 100% confides in her, but there's just not even enough of that to convince me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I love the concept, but yeah, no, the execution was not perfect.
Lesbian lovers, that's what it needs. More smut, more sex.
All right.
So, you want to make the award of praying is the new dragon snaking? Is that?
Yeah, I would definitely support that.
At this rate, there just need a list of alternative euphemisms.
We should at some point compile that list. That would be a fun list.
Yeah. I still like dragon snaking.
It'll be our dragon snaking list. It's a lot like our fictional five.
Oh, good. Great.
Oh, fictional five.
So that's got to go in a tweet now.
I told you that my fictional five changed. I know neither of you has a full list. Mine's complicated. Curse you, BioWare.
What can I say?
I don't know what you're
not even that risque in my fantasy worlds. Look at that. All right. So on top of praying the new dragon snaking, we have What's in a Name award for frequent interchanging of names and nicknames for several characters. That just proves that there is something in a name because it's damn confusing.
Yeah,
everything's
whatever Igor called her.
What was that last one?
Whatever Igor called her.
Oh, he called her Kisan Ka, which I think I tried to look up, and it is an endearment. I think it's like kitten or some other sort of endearment.
It still is another.
I mean, it was yet another one. Yeah, I think all told there were like at least 4 or 5 names she went by. Yeah, there is something to be said for a name.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so we'll keep that one. And last one, the Stop and Go award for issues with pacing, such as interesting parts going way too quickly, while less important and less entertaining parts go too slow. Yeah, I'd...
Yep.
Like that middle chunk being too long. And then that's one thing actually we didn't really mention too much is that when it finally hit the point with the whole coup and Catherine taking over, I felt like it was just like, done.
Yeah.
Like, wait.
And we decided to take over, and we did.
Because... Well, it's like the last 80 pages, and which means I've already read 400 pages, waiting for Catherine the Great to become Catherine the Great. 400 pages. And she's not even the Great at that point. She's just Empress Catherine. We don't get to Catherine the Great. So, yeah, there definitely could have been more done. And again, if they'd used Barbara properly, she could have been a real key piece in that whole overthrowing.
Yeah. So.
So I agree with all 3 of these nominations, and I don't have any of my own. I have a list of problems, not a list of yays. So, final impressions and ratings?
I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because, there were parts that were good in the beginning, especially, but And like, it wasn't bad writing. It was just, I don't know.
Too much in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I started, I thought solid 4. Because of the type of story, I figured it probably wouldn't be a 5 for me just because it wasn't sounding like something that I'd need to reread. But then I'd hit those chunks where it just brought it down, and even 3 was starting to seem generous. And then there'd be other parts where I'm like, okay, so I'm between 3 and 4. But no, I think 3, and that's where I marked it on Goodreads because it's not consistently strong enough to stay at a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I fell between the two. I ended up because Goodreads doesn't have half stars, as I think we frequently lament. I ended up giving it 4 stars with an actual rating of 3.5. And that's because I did, especially at the beginning, as we keep saying, I did get pulled into the story, and I really enjoyed that. And even after all the dull stuff, by the end, I was, once again, I was back in it. So I found that I really, it's funny because it has a lot of what should be substance that is breezed over and therefore doesn't actually feel substantial. So it ended up being a much lighter read than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a light read, but...
It's not a light read per se, but it was lighter than I expected.
Yeah, it's not dense, but it's still like 500 pages of Are We There Yet?
There you go. You do have an award. Are we there yet?
The Are We There Yet award. Haven't you given that to something else by now? Sure. I'll add that. That's going in there. Are we there yet?
I'm only slightly distracted because I'm looking at your poll. So I'm sorry.
I haven't finished that yet. Shoot.
I haven't started it. I just keep looking at it. We'll get to that.
So if you are wondering, it's because Winter Palace is actually the final book that we read for this season, end of the year. Our seasons aren't that complicated. So what that means is right after, we finish speaking for this little bit, we're going to spend some time reflecting on the whole season. So from January of the start of this year and all the 12 novels that we've read, looking at the awards that we've handed out. I put up a poll this morning, or at least my time zone morning. I know Caitlin's like right before bedtime. Of some of the awards that we gave last year that I thought could still merit some redistribution. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to split these videos in half so that you don't have to sit through however many hours it's going to be just to get to the finale. But do we have the link somewhere? I'll tweet it right now.
Your poll?
Again, anyway, yeah.
I'm already on it.
Okay, well, I'll tweet it again right now in case anyone watching would like to participate and add. I've got all the books listed up there. And of course, if you click on my Curious Endeavourances 2014 page, you can go through, see all the awards that were distributed, and brief summaries of what went on in those books, just to catch you back up. Anything else about Winter Palace before we switch gears?
No, just introduce next book.
Right. Oh, so sure. Starting in January, the first book of our 2015 season, I'm hosting The Rosie Project. This book was a recommendation that was given to me last year that I've had on my shelf, still waiting to read. Everyone who's read it says it's absolutely brilliant, it's hilarious, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's a bigger book, but I've been told it's a really quick read just because it's very light. I've got my flap here that I can go through. Wife wanted, must be punctual, logical, and enjoy traveling by bicycle. No smokers, drinkers, or horoscope readers need apply. Don Tillman has a brilliant scientific mind, but social situations confound him. He's never had a second date, and so, in the evidence-based manner in which he approaches all things, he embarks upon the Wife Project, a 16-page questionnaire to find the perfect partner. Then in walks Rosie Jarman. Rosie's on a quest of her own. She's looking for her biological father, a search that a certain genetics expert might just be able to help her with. Soon Dawn puts the Wife Project on the back burner in order to help Rosie pursue the Father Project. As an unlikely relationship blooms, Dawn is about to realize that despite the best scientific efforts, you don't find love. Love finds you.
I wonder how that's going to end.
It's light. So what if it's predictable?
I really want to see.
And I've been told it's quirky. I've been told it's quirky.
Quirky's good. I do want to see the questionnaire, though. I feel like we need to post that if it's in the book.
Just like we did with the lexicon one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, already I'm like, well, I don't count because I may drink on occasion, and I've been told by my very logical husband that I am in fact not logical, or I have an interesting definition of logic. Maybe would be the better.
I'm just thrown off by bicycle. I have one of those unfortunate childhoods.
I'd be willing to attempt it, but yeah. No. All right.
Oh, right. I was going to post that questionnaire. Not the questionnaire, the poll.
I tweeted it, so you can just.
Oh, you tweeted it?
Yeah, I said I already had
retweeting that.
I have all the tabs.
Me too, and then I closed a tab, and that was the tab I needed right at that moment. Go figure.
I've been pondering your stupid poll the whole time. I try to remember how does this book end? How does this book end? How did this book end? How did this?
All right.
Yeah,
well, we should give our readers a couple minutes then to get themselves sorted, maybe answer the poll, and we'll regroup for the finale.
So, yeah, so we'll sign off with this one, and then I can make a whole new page. Is that what you want to do? Or just chat about books?
Can we come offline and then back on?
Yeah, I can start a whole new thing.
Oh, rather than restart a whole new one, can't we? We'll only restart a new one if we go offline and then back on it, rather than open a whole new window?
Pretty sure.
And say if we go off air, back on air, will it be two separate ones?
Probably.
If only we have some like elevator music we can just put on while we all start doing the poll.
Go do the poll and we'll create a new. We'll make a new event year-end page. So
sounds good.
So goodbye.
So hit the bathroom, grab new drinks.
We'll post new links.
See you in a couple minutes.
Happy reading.